Hi, this is Han Jones with the Sweet Life Real Estate Group. Today we're going to go over the 2021 Fall Creek Real Estate Review. And if you don't live in Fall Creek, that's okay. If you want to take a look at any other neighborhood here in the Humble Kingwood or Atascocita area, leave a comment down below or shoot me an email directly and I'd be happy to pull up some data for you and take a look at those neighborhoods as well. Okay, let's get started. To start off with, we're going to take a look at some data from HAR, taking a look at last year's overall performance in the real estate market for the Houston metro area, so everything around Houston, and then after that we'll unwind and we'll take a look at Fall Creek specifically. So if we take a look at the data from HAR, we can see here specifically for single family homes, we had an increase of 10.3%. Total property sales up 13%. But take a look down here, single family average home sales price, that jumped, average home sales price jumped from 324 to 376, a 16% jump in sales price, right? So we all know that we're in a bull market right now. We're definitely in a seller's market. The narrative hasn't changed since when the pandemic started, which is inventory is low and there's a lot more buyers than sellers, okay? And the reason why we're seeing numbers like this is because, again, there seems to be a transition from the metropolitan area, like the city centers and things like this. People are moving out toward the suburbs, right? So that's great news for communities like Fall Creek that have easy access to freeways, but for people to commute in and out to get back in the city. But at the same time, they don't experience that same congestion of living in the city. All right. So we can see here 16% increase in sales price year over year, right? So that's kind of a big deal. So let's transition. Let's switch gears. Let's go into Fall Creek. So again, Fall Creek, following along with that same trend across the board in Houston. We take a look at, and I like to take a look at the last 3 years in terms of valuation. So you can see the valuation area here. This purple bar is 2029, the light gray bar is 2020, and 2021 is the dark gray bar, which is last year. So you can see here across the board, average dollar per square foot jumped up pretty dramatically, right? So there's up over 12% specifically across the board here. And then when you look at and you break it down between the 1 stories, the 2 stories, and the homes with pools, there was a jump in increase in terms of value by 14%, right? So if we compare those numbers there, you can see that typically 1-story homes go for a higher dollar per square foot. The reason why we use dollar per square foot as a metric versus just using the home price is because, again, all homes are different shapes and sizes. And if we normalize it across the board just to give an even playing field, of even basis of comparison, we want to look at dollar per square foot. So across the board here, you can see that between 2019, 2020 into 2021, I mean, major jump. And that's very interesting considering Fall Creek, we don't have any more new builds. I mean, like in 2021, the new builds were pretty much gone into 2021 already. So Fall Creek is done in terms of expansion, unless they try to expand into further areas. But I mean, there's not much footprint left. So the homes that we have here are going to be resale from this point moving forward. The second metric that we like to look at is days on market. And so days on market here is showing us the speed or the turnover for houses, right? So the faster homes get sold, the lower the days on the market is. And right, so when you're looking at something that has a lot of days on the market, that means the market's not moving too fast because it's sitting there for a longer period of time. So when we look at days on market here, it's just the opposite of valuation, right? So, in 2019, things were sticking around for 60 days or more. That was average, right? And then coming into 2020, that dropped. But in 2021, look at this. This is pretty incredible. Right here, it says in 2021, the average days on market was 26, and homes in Fall Creek sold 46% quicker than in 2020. So there was almost got cut by half since 2020. So in 2021, homes were selling twice as fast as they were in 2020. And that's a big deal, right? And that's across the board for the 1 stories and the 2-story homes, right? 1-story homes typically have more demand for 2-story just because there's less of them. and if people want a smaller footprint, but it really didn't matter across the board in Fall Creek. I mean, things were selling twice as fast, so that's pretty interesting. We also look at the data in Fall Creek village by village. And the reason why we do that is every village is different in Fall Creek, right? There's some similarities between some, but some are priced really, really high and other ones are priced more at an entry level. And so if we take into account each village on its own, we can analyze the data even further, and that's what we like to do specifically in terms of running comps and in terms of running valuation. We can take a look at sales prices for each village in Fall Creek. And so we look at the top 5 villages by sales in Fall Creek. Heather Glen and Laurel Oaks, they were tied there at the top with just over 20. So a lot of activity in those villages. Autumn Falls, Piney Point, you can see it there, and Rustling Oaks, right? And these are only the top 5. If you want to see how your village ranks, shoot me an email and I can pull up all that data for you as well. And if we look at overall number of sales in Fall Creek, right? We look at the seasonality, and the reason why that's important is because typically in the second and third quarter of the year you get more activity, namely the third quarter, because those are like in the summer months, the mid to late summer. This is typically when people like to move, especially people with families. They wait until the summertime, so when their kids are out of school, it's just an easier transition. I don't know if any of you have tried to move during the school year. It's a pain, right? You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. Kids are still in school. You know, probably you're busy at work. During the summer months, a lot of people take vacations so they can move, find the right place. And that's typically what you see here in Q3. Q3 is usually the day or the quarter where people move around the most. So if we look at the seasonality of this, it's pretty on point. But if you look at the strength of the sales for 2021 compared to the other years, the dark gray here, the strength quarter over quarter over quarter over quarter, it just blew away the previous years. And what does that mean? That means that for the entire year of 2021, there was strong demand. There was a lot of buyers coming in, and they really didn't care if it was Q1, Q2, Q3, summertime or not. They came in to buy, right? So if there was something available, they wanted to come in and get it, right? And again, going back to the days on market that we saw here earlier, they're buying pretty quickly, right? They're buying pretty quickly, right? So that's our infographic. Thanks for taking the time to have a look. Again, if you have any questions specifically about Fall Creek or the neighboring markets, we're experts in the local area here in Humboldt, Kingwood, and Atascocita. I love running numbers, so if you guys want some numbers run, go ahead, shoot me an email, leave me a comment in the video, and we'll talk to you next time. All the best.